Hey, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Praja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivaj Jagatar Sutara Sata Shishamad Shilaisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So I just want to take a few seconds here to offer my gratitude. Um, and I feel like I don't know, some of these persons don't get appreciated enough, but Yasude Prabhu, first of all, for coordinating these classes and going through all the effort it takes. Definitely not easy service. Trying to get people to give class, and somehow he ended up with this role and has to run with it. So appreciate that. And Tarika Prabhu for posting every day all these yeah, posting the verse and purport, and of course then uh, giving such nice commentaries, and I would say it's kind of like a safety net. You know, if we say anything that's maybe pushing the limits a little bit in terms of its bona fideness, Tarka Prabhu is there to kind of pull us back with his wealth of knowledge of Prabhupada's strict instructions. And Gari Krishna Prabhu, who every day links, he's like the very unknown backbone to this whole Bhagavatam class because every day he's connecting it to the YouTube. So Gari Krishna Prabhu, thank you very, very much. And myself and James found out the benefit of your service because we were in the garden the other day and somehow from Zoom we couldn't connect to the Bluetooth. So James had the brilliant idea of connecting via YouTube. So we were still able to listen to class. I think it was your class actually. So Gari Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for your steadfast service. Even I don't know, somehow you do it. Somehow you connect us to YouTube, even though you're like milking the cows and doing service at the same time. Okay, so now to the Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Okay, so today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, verse 52. Dehyagyo jita sadvargo nichan karmani karyate kosakara ivatmanam karmana chadimuyati. Dehyagno chitta sadvargo nichan karman karyate kosakara ivatmanam karmanak chadya muyati. Okay, would anyone like to chant? Going once, going twice.
Hare Krishna. Te Yagyo Jita Shadvargo Nechan Karmani Karyate Koshakara Ivatmanam Karmana Chadya Muyati.
Thank you very much, Starka Prabhu. Okay. All right. Synonyms. Okay, synonyms. Dehi. We know that. The embodied soul, yeah. So deha is body. So agya, without perfect knowledge. We know gya is like knowledge, so agya, without perfect knowledge. Ajita sat varga, one who has not controlled the senses of perception and the mind. Not ichan, without desire. Ikcha dvesa. So ikcha is desire. Karmani, we know karma, material activities. Here it says material activities. Karyate is caused to perform. Kosakara, the silkworm. Eva, like Atmanam, himself. Karmana, by fruit of activities. Achadya, covering. Muyati, becomes bewildered. Yeah. Translation. The foolish embodied living entity, inept at controlling his senses and mind, is forced to act according to the influence of the modes of material nature, against his desire. He is like a silkworm that uses its own saliva to create a cocoon and then becomes trapped in it, with no possibility of getting out. The living entity traps himself in a network of his own fruitive activities and then can find no way to release himself. Thus, he is always bewildered and repeatedly he dies. Purport. As already explained, the influence of the modes of nature is very strong. The living entity entangled in different types of fruitive activities is like a silkworm trapped in a cocoon. Getting free is very difficult unless he is helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnana Timidandasya Dhananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sagana Ragana Tam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Sa Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langaite Kirim Shikuru Tarik Shikuru Dinatarinam. Okay. All right. So. All right. So short and sweet purport, but yes, lots to talk about in this verse and purport. Okay, so let's start talking about it. All right. So this is a very nice visual here of this silkworm who, so the silkworm uses its own saliva to cocoon itself, and then it becomes entrapped. So by that, silkworm's, in a sense, foolish act of whatever, salivating, I guess, it's actually trapping itself, and then it's not able to get out. So I remember in one of His Holiness Devamrita Swami's recent visits, he was saying like this, that we are cocooning ourselves. And then this one devotee kept, for the next week or so, he kept joking with me about that, because we when Mara said that, we both looked at each other and were very amused by this cocooning. Don't cocoon yourself. So every time I passed him, he would say, are you cocooning yourself? So yeah, are we cocooning ourselves? By our own activities, are we actually entangling ourselves? It's amazing visual that the Bhagavatam gives. These examples that the Bhagavatam give are, yes, very, very poignant. And as Prabhupada said, that when making examples, an example is good when it has the most common similarities. So yeah, so I always like this idea was because I could very much relate to it. This idea that, we're struggling in material life and we think that by adjusting this or that, then we will actually get out. But actually, we just become more kind of uh, yeah, in more difficulty. So I remember like, in college, it'd be like, okay, you go to a party, get, very intoxicated, then the next morning you feel terrible. So you drink drink coffee to kind of perk you up. Then the coffee gets you too perked up. So then you have to smoke some marijuana to of course you don't have to, but I thought that you had to kind of calm you down, take some sedative drug like marijuana, calm you down. Um, and then yeah, you smoke too much, and then you like whatever have to sleep or you eat too much. And so it's a whole, and then you eat too much and then you have to smoke a cigarette. Of course, luckily I didn't smoke cigarettes, but so it's just we think we're solving one problem uh, with another solution, but actually that solution is also problematic in itself. Um, yeah, so this is the situation in material life. It's problems are there. This is a world of problems. Um, Even this morning, I woke up and, last night somehow I thought it'd be a good idea to, well, okay, yesterday I ended up with like a lot of the Mahaprasadam and pretty much I by circumstance I had this big box of prasadam, um Mahaprasadam from two offerings. So it's the Maha from lunch, Raj Boga, and then the one of the fruit offerings. And in a sense, I honestly can say I ended up with this because we have like retreats, and now His Holiness Dev Swami is coming, so the kitchens are like all kind of closed off. So I just didn't know where to take all this Maha. So it comes into my room, and it's getting late, and I'm just feeling a little hungry, so I start eating, and whatever Nanda Vilas Prabhu cooked was like just mind blowing. Made I have to ask him how he made a few of these preps because they were so good. And then, but and then in that same plate, there was some fruit right there. And I know in my mind, like, no, this is a terrible idea. You're not supposed to eat fruit uh, with any other food stuff. What to speak of after you just ate a full meal. And I heard also you shouldn't take citrus late at night. Yesterday, Prabhu, being adept in Ayurveda, can really attest, confirm that. But yeah, so here I am just doing all these ridiculous, yes, eating this huge plate of maha, and then the fruit's there. And you know how it starts. You just eat one cherry, and then that cherry is so good, you eat another cherry, and then that cherry, and then, oh, I wonder how these nectarines t taste. And then you get to a point, oh, well, there's only a little left. I might as well finish it off. And then sure enough, this morning, I get out of bed and it was a painful experience. So this is, yeah, so these things. I guess according to the mode of nature you're most in, these things happen in as a result of being in the material world. Um, I like this example that material world is a place of anxieties. So to think that you can be in this world without anxieties is like going into water and thinking you're not going to get wet. No, we're here. This is the nature of this world is anxiety. So, okay. Um, so His Holiness Radha Swami says something very interesting in this regard. He says that if we are actually successful in um, if we're successful in mitigating misery by material means, this is actually against our own welfare. Of course, yeah. What was the context of him saying that? I don't know exactly. Um, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to live as peaceful of a material life as possible, but at the same time, um, those successes by material means can alter our faith, can give us faith that, yeah, can change our faith that, oh yes, actually, just by adjusting things on a material level, I can actually counteract the miseries of material life. So this is, of course, what everyone is thinking. Everyone is thinking that, yes, if I just adjust things in this little way, if I just adjust things in that little way, then things will be okay. It's kind of like this blind optimism. I mean, I can see in myself also. I often think I'm like, I guess it's kind of good. Man, I think I have a bit of an optimistic nature because yeah, I'll get this idea. Oh, and now this will be the best thing. This will kind of like solve my problems. Or I'll read about this and okay, yeah, it's this. Or I got something popped up in my news feed. You know, traits of a successful person, and read that, and oh yeah, this will be the end all, be all and end all to my miseries I'm experiencing as a result of being in this world. Um, but we know as devotees to come to this path, uh, many of us we kind of exhausted all those possibilities. We tried this, we tried that, and then didn't feel that satisfaction, and then came to bhakti and could feel that yes, there's actually something to this. There's actually something substantial, and it's not like just this blind faith like that I get after reading some article by some new modern psychologist. No, we're actually getting results through this bhakti process, which keep us going. I like in one purport Prabhupada makes this one statement that's like so yeah, so powerful. Of course, when you like at one point my Guru Maharaj told me to memorize, I just suggested, that this practice of memorizing not only verses, but memorize the whole purport. And when you memorize the whole one of Srila Prabhupada's purports, you're you're just like fully meditating on each word, fully meditating on each sentence, and um, it really, really made me appreciate how powerful, yeah, Prabhupada's kind of words were, and how he conveyed messages. And so one of those sentences, I don't know, ver just summarizing, this isn't verbatim, but um, Prabhupada's making the point that the more that we try, the more we try to control material nature and be the controllers, the more we actually become controlled by material nature. So it's a very profound concept that because it's counterintuitive. It's um so the more we think, okay, you know, yeah, pretty much the more we think that we can control material nature, and the more we endeavor to control things on a material level, then the more we're actually becoming controlled. Um, because we are becoming entangled in material life. We are uh, setting ourselves up more and more for repeated birth and death because we're not taking shelter in the proper means. We're not relinquishing our control and surrendering to Krishna. Instead, we're thinking, like I was saying, yeah, just by changing this, just by changing that, then I'll actually get in control. So yeah, the example, like, somebody, okay, they smoke too much marijuana, and then they get hungry, and then they eat too much, and then they, to counteract that, then they smoke cigarettes. Okay. So now just taking that last so-called solution, um, is you're thinking, okay, now I have a way to actually control if I eat too much. I just smoke a cigarette. So yes, just see how I'm controlling this situation. See how I'm able to enjoy, eat a little too much and still be okay. I now I found this method. I just smoke a cigarette after. But now what's happened? Now you've actually just become more controlled. It's like because now you're controlled by these cigarettes, right? They say that about addictions, don't they? Like addictions, you become controlled by your addiction. Kind of like, yeah, you become a servant to your addiction. All your addiction's telling you you need a cigarette, even though you might not particularly think it's a good idea. But no, you're forced because now you become a servant of that addiction. So each time we take on these addictions, it's like taking on a new it's like we're a puppet, and now we have a new string on us. Now we're being more and more uh, uh we're being more and more controlled um by these, yeah, addictions or habits. So I always love this concept, and just how Prabhupada put it, just the more we try to control material nature, the more we actually become controlled by it. So yeah, so I've talked about a little bit about how I kind of just tried to uh, expand on this concept of the silkworm and yes, how this faith in material nature can just get us more entangled in it. Um, and ultimately, it's this the whole cycle of samsara, yeah, it's very intense and it's an unending cycle. Like there's one story when Prabhupada he was walking down some alley or street something and there was a dumpster nearby and they heard some kind of like rustling, some something scurrying around, some certain heard some sounds coming from the dumpster. And so they went in and they looked in and they saw there was a rat in there. And Prabhupada said something like, without help, that rat was doomed. So yeah, so that rat, it's in this dumpster and it's just, scurrying around and it has no way to get up actually on its own. There's no way that rat's going to be able to get up. It just, the walls are just solid. Um, he's not like a lizard where he has like whatever, like some sticky limbs where he can climb up. So he's in there, and so that's like us. Um, Material world is set up in such a way that, yeah, we're just like that rat, just circling around. And sometimes we're in a good birth, sometimes in a bad birth. Uh, but either way, we are kind of helplessly just circling around this dumpster of the material world. But then, as Prabhupada said, the, the, the only way, the only way for this rat to be saved is somebody comes and mercifully helps the rat. Um, Another quick example of this, I know I've kind of exhausted these examples, but I was listening to this Shivram podcast by His Holiness Shivram Swami, and he was telling this story of how he had a mosquito net that he had used, the previous summer, and when they came, then the seasons changed, so they hadn't used it, and then when they went back, they'd seen that this mosquito net had a molded frog. So so he starts telling this story of the molded frog. And so the podcast, that episode was entitled The Molded Frog. So or the moldy frog, the moldy frog. Yeah. If anyone needs a new band name, the Moldy Frogs. Okay. So so pretty much what happened, this frog went into this net and started freaking out naturally. And then by its freaking out, by its moving, it actually kind of like it entangled itself. The more it tried to free himself and go this way, the more it became. And then what happened then ultimately died and became the moldy frog, the now famous moldy frog. So okay. So I think I've exhausted those examples. And so Mars was making the point that yes, this, you know, what later became the moldy frog wasn't able to get out on its own. And it's just struggled more and more. And it was just as more it struggled, the more it became on its way to becoming the moldy frog. But if someone were to help the moldy frog, the dormant, later to be the moldy frog out, then you he wouldn't become the moldy frog that he became. So we need this help out of this material world. Um, and yes, we know we've all been helped. We've all been kind of saved. Merciful Vaishnavas have somehow or other extended the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to us and gotten us out. Um, and now that we're out, yes, we should just take proper shelter. Take proper shelter in knowing that our real only savior is the bhakti process. Shraddha Sabde Vishvase Kore Surya Nishchoy Krishna Kaila Karma Krita Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That, faith means that the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that defines faith as being thinking that by engaging in this bhakti process that one can attain all perfection. So yeah, we should take shelter in this way. That Krishna, you are actually my only shelter. Um, so yesterday I was in a bit of, well, a bit is light way of saying it. I was in a lot of distress, a lot of mental distress, and I just I felt helpless, and so I just started praying to Krishna. Krishna, please help, please help. Um, I can't say I always do this, but somehow yesterday I had the intelligence to just pray to Krishna that Krishna, I'm really suffering here. This is really impeding my service. Please help me. Um, then later, yeah, it just somehow, it and I was distressed because I'd taken on this, I agreed to take on this service, which was like totally impractical. And I was already just had already been such a long day, and um I wasn't gonna be, I didn't know how I was gonna be able to do the service properly, and it was a very, very important service. And so it was just I didn't actually even realize that it was that service that was causing me so much distress. The yeah, the stress of having to do that service later. I didn't realize that was causing me so much distress. I just didn't, yeah, that was whatever. I was just praying to Krishna, Krishna, please get me free from this. And then sure enough, later I get this message that, okay, actually you're not needed for this service. And immediately I like, God, this like weight, heavy, 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 heavy weight just like came off my shoulders. Um, and so I was very relieved, very relieved. Because, I wasn't going to be able to do the service properly unless I somehow, I don't know, I didn't know how I was going to do the service properly. So I prayed to Krishna, and, somehow it worked out. It worked out. Um, and of course, this isn't it wasn't a pure motive, it wasn't the highest aspiration that Krishna, please help me from this mental distress. But it's okay. It was okay. It was bona fide. And Prabhupada makes this point in one purport. I believe it's to this Chaturvita Bhajante Mam, 4 types of people come to me: the distressed, the those seeking wealth, those who are inquisitive, and those who are seeking after the absolute. And Prabhupada, I believe it's that purport, he makes the point that yes, even though um, one approaches Krishna in these ways, without a pure motive. Of course, the last one is pretty sure considered pure, but um, if one approaches Krishna for like wealth or for freedom from distress, um, it's not the highest thing, but it's still okay. It's not sinful, and it's actually good because Prabhupada makes the point that because then if one prays to Krishna for that, for these material things, or material relief, when Krishna reciprocates and kind of fulfills that desire or alleviates that distress, then this endears one to Krishna. So, um, what I'm thankful. I should be thankful to Krishna. I don't think I've acknowledged it, but thank you, Krishna, for relieving me of that distress. So in this way, yeah, one one should take shelter of Krishna, whatever the case may be. Karma sarvakama va moksha kama udarati. Whether one wants liberation, whether one wants freedom from material distress, uh, or whether one is free from desires and just wants Krishna, one should take shelter of Krishna and worship Krishna. And in this way, by doing that, then Devi Hyasa Gunamai, Mama Madhyatya, Mame Vaye Prapadyante. Well, I just totally mixed up that verse, but yeah, in the seventh chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that this material world is very difficult to overcome, but one who takes shelter of me can overcome it very easily. So we're all in this dumpster of the material world. We can't be saved, but by taking shelter of Krishna, we can be saved. So, let's decrease our faith that by material means we can become happy. And let's ultimately put our faith in Krishna in the process of bhakti yoga. And yeah, even if we need to, pray to Krishna to alleviate us from our distresses. Okay. So I'll stop there. Any questions and comments are welcome at this point.
Hare Krishna, good morning, Dasya Prem, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your class. It was wonderful. Thank you, especially in the beginning, for expressing your gratitude for the wonderful devotees and our senior devotees who just make all of this possible every day. They're kind of like that proverbial duck. It seems like it's gliding on the water, but it's paddling away to keep things going. And it really is a blessing. The purport this morning made me think of a book that I read probably over 40 something years ago, actually about caterpillars and butterflies. And it was called Hope for Flowers. And it was about these 2 little caterpillars that were trying to figure out the meaning of life and find this caterpillar tower and start to climb it. And so they're like looking for knowledge of the meaning of life. And they're just getting beaten down, head stepped on, smashed. And one of them says, there's got to be more than this. And the other one goes, no, this is it. I'm going to the top. And so one of them turns around and climbs down, and the other one goes to the top. And the one who climbs down is just in despair, kind of crawling along, saying, well, maybe this is as good as it gets, and runs into a butterfly, which becomes kind of like a guru, and says, no, you have to do something to change, and I'll help you. I'll show you. And the other one gets to the top and finds out that at the top, the ones up there are just pressing down to keep the other ones down, and eventually get pushed off the tower and die. And the whole cycle starts again. And now in Bhakti, I realize the book is very much, a demonstration of Bhakti, that like, get off this merry-go-round, this tower that literally goes nowhere. It's full of violence and despair, and just be willing to surrender. Just be willing to know you don't know, but you want to know, and acknowledge your distress. And then I think about in our Sastra where there's a point, I think, where Krishna says, I knew that you were coming to someone, but I sort of got tired of waiting for you, so I sent your Guru Maharaj. It's like, he does help us. And I don't know how many lifetimes it's been for me to get to this point, but I realize how precious this place is to be able to practice Bhakti Yoga and just to concentrate on that in the moment. Certainly going back to Godhead, if a moral code or, high philosophy was enough, everybody would get there, but we need the help of Krishna, and we need to be in a constant state of surrender to get that. So this is what I got from your class this morning, and sorry about your tummy, but we do get
Feels
those
better
practice
now.
lessons. We do. And the thing is to realize that they are that, like, just to even have the realization about that is amazing. So thank you again for your class. Haribo.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for that nice story. Very illuminating. We can crawl, but we're just gonna get thrown off. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes we just take that humble position. I don't know if this is the one of the purport to the story, but if we just take the humble position, then we can actually meet the butterfly guru instead of thinking we can do it on our own and just get thrown off from the top. Okay, Tarek.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Tarek.
I want to thank you for a very nice class. Thinking about how we have this tendency to get ourselves entangled in so many ways into circumstances that we're unable to get out of by our own endeavor. As devotees, we don't like to bother Krishna for anything as far as possible because we are Krishna's servants. We want to render service and not take service from Krishna. But sometimes we find ourselves in predicaments in which there's just nothing we can do. We have no alternative. And Krishna actually engineers the material nature in such a way that at some point or other we come to the end of our rope and we have no other recourse. We are forced to just cry out to Krishna for his help. And it's a wonderful thing. This is Krishna consciousness that we take shelter of Krishna in the event of circumstances that we recognize to be beyond our control. The wonderful example is given in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the descriptions of Krishna's pastimes, but particularly his pastimes in Vrindavan with his greatest devotees, the various residents of Vrindavan, whenever a particularly distressful situation would arise, they would immediately call out to Krishna, immediately depending upon Krishna for help. So, whatever the situation was, the attack of some dreadful demon, forest fire, torrential rain, there was always some calamity, and but the first thought was always to take help from Krishna. It's one way in which we remember Krishna. Keep our consciousness always fixed upon Krishna, and so sometimes what appears to be um, uh, a difficult situation reverses in the course of our life. We can see it actually as a blessing, an opportunity to remember Krishna. All kinds of circumstances that sometimes frustrate us, when we look upon them with the right perspective, they become incentives for Krishna consciousness. For an example that brahmacharis may appreciate, that it's perennial problem seems for many brahmacharis is that they're disturbed, trying to be peaceful in their Krishna consciousness, trying to cultivate Krishna consciousness, at least, in early stages of their practice of bhakti, and due to all kinds of contact with the modes of nature in their previous life, and all kinds of unfortunate experiences. They are plagued by memories and bad habits, and so agitated by sex life. But even that impulse for sex life can be a wonderful impetus for Krishna consciousness when your mindset is that I am helpless. There is nothing I can do. My only recourse is to take shelter of Krishna. And so that agitation that arises again and again just becomes another opportunity to increase hearing and chanting, and somehow remember Krishna and take shelter of him. And when one does that, the result is always wonderful. That problems are mitigated, and the result is just ecstasy in Krishna consciousness. It's a wonderful thing. Anyway, you got me thinking about the residents of Vrindavan and their tendency to, while on the one hand they regarded Krishna as their equal, or sometimes their dependent, and they would try to protect him, but then also under dire circumstances, they would call out for Krishna's help. It's peculiar, but very, very wonderful. Always Krishna conscious, in so many different wonderful ways. I wanted to say as well that if ever you find yourself in a distressed situation, trying to find a way to deal with some Mahaprasad, I am happy to relieve you of that distress, you can always drop off Mahaprasad with me, and I am blessed to have the ability to always know precisely how to deal with that Mahaprasad. I have
Jai.
no problem. So you can keep that in mind.
Thank you. And I hope
All
there are
right. Well,
any other pujaris can also yeah, use that. Thank you. I don't know if Dina Palika still wants to say something, but if you do.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I just had a quick question. You were talking about praying to Krishna, and I was wondering that a lot of times we pray to Krishna, please help me, like overcome something that's becoming an obstacle in my service. And then Krishna will answer that prayer, but sometimes we can miss, or I guess with any prayer, like he'll try to answer it, but in a way different than maybe we thought, or we're asking him to relieve us of something, but it's more of like a third party thing where he'll send something or someone or some situation to help with that, rather than just like, poof, the feeling is gone, or like the anarta is gone or something like that. So I was just wondering if you could speak about that a little bit more, and how we can kind of be able to see more whenever Krishna is like answering our prayer or sending us something to help us in what we're trying to work on.
I think what comes to mind is what Gurudev says in this regard, what I think is this regard, that we should pray to Krishna, but it, in a mood of like, because we're his servants, we should have the mood that, okay, we pray to Krishna, but then he can do things on his own timeline. Not that we're like praying and then, holding our watch, like, okay, Krishna, come on, you're gonna fulfill it. It's been like 1 hour now, time's ticking. I need this fulfilled. So I know that he says that you should pray to Krishna and be patient and accept his timeline for fulfilling that prayer. And I know I was looking up, yeah, Satchinanda Maharaj also has some different aspects of prayer. And I think he talks about that. But anyways, I wasn't able to pull it up. But yeah, I think we don't, I mean, I like this thing I heard recently that, Krishna doesn't do things to us, he does things for us. So ultimately, I think if we're sincerely trying, and then sincerely praying, then we should know that whatever is going to happen to us is the best for us. I think that's all I can share in that regard. But if I'll just switch off my video. I'm in a little crunch today, but if people want to stick around, and if Tarkapur would like to say something.
Just had a quick comment that I wanted to add, which is that I think everybody knows this, but sometimes we appeal to Krishna for help in a particular way, and we have in mind some particular idea of how we'd like to be helped. But that's not necessarily what Krishna is going to choose to do. He will do what actually is best, and sometimes what we think is the solution is really not the solution. So sometimes Krishna will respond to our prayers, but not necessarily in the way that we expect. Sometimes we may not even recognize what he has done until sometime much later. At some point in retrospect, we realize, oh my goodness, Krishna did this wonderful thing. But when we're in the middle of distressed situation, sometimes we're unable to understand what's happening, how Krishna is working, and how he is responding to us. Hindsight is 2020. It's often when we're in the middle of different circumstances, we can't understand, we can't see what's going on. Things often become clear later. Anyway, it's late. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you so much, devotees. Thank you for your association. And have a wonderful day in Krishna service. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.